Okay, so let's look at this first problem. Our equation is y equals -4 cosine of 2x minus 3. So let's first find our amplitude, period, phase shift, and vertical shift. To find the amplitude, we're looking at that first number in the equation. We have a -4, but amplitude is asking for a measurement. When we graph, we use the -4. When we find amplitude, we take the absolute value of -4. So our amplitude here is 4. Then the period comes from the number that's in front of x. We have a 2 in front of x, and this is not just 2, just like our amplitude was not just -4. What we do is we take 2 pi and divide it by whatever number we have there, which this time is 2, so the period for this function is pi. Next we have phase shift. Phase shift is whatever is in parentheses with x. We do not have a number like plus or minus anything right after that x inside parentheses, which means we have no phase shift. It's okay to not have something. Vertical shift we do have because this -3 on the end is not in parentheses, so that makes it a vertical shift. So it's either moving up or down. It's going to move 3 units, and it's going to move down because it's negative. From here, we sketch a graph, so we're going to have to make our own x and y axis. While we're doing this, we'll go ahead and accommodate for the period. So it's going to start at 0 because there's no phase shift, and it's going to go out to pi. Then we always do in force because our unit circle, whenever we look at sine and cosine and get our pattern, we divide this circle into fourths. So we're going to divide this into fourths. So half of pi is pi over 2. And then we need to go halfway in between on either side of that. So half of pi over 2 is going to be pi over 4. And halfway in between pi over 2 and pi, you can either look on your unit circle, or if you add pi over 4 and pi over 2, you'll get 3 pi over 4. So from here, we're going to use our patterns. We are looking at cosine. The cosine pattern starts with 1. So if we looked at all of our points, our ordered pairs around that unit circle, we'd start with 1 and then get 0, and then -1, and then 0, and then 1. So 2 things. So we've done the period. The phase shift is non-existent, so technically we've accounted for it, even if it doesn't exist in this problem. So we have amplitude and vertical shift. Amplitude, we multiply our pattern by the number that's in our equation. In vertical shift, we're going to add or subtract depending on if it's adding or subtracting in the equation. So we have a -4 in the equation, which means we are going to multiply this by -4 and get a new pattern. -4, 0, +4, 0, -4. Then, so we're good with that, then we add or subtract. Since this is down 3 and this is -3, we're going to subtract 3 from all of these things in our pattern. So -4 minus 3 is -7. Then 0 minus 3 is -3. 4 minus 3 is 1. 0 minus 3 is -3. -4 minus 3 is -7. So here is our pattern. So let's fix our graph. We need to go all the way down to -7. And we're going to come up to 1. So here's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and -7. So -7 is here, -3 is here, and 1 is there. Those are all the values that we need. So let's graph this. 0 is going to be -7. Pi over 4 is going to be -3. So we've done that, we've done that. Pi over 2 is 1. 3 pi over 4 is -3. And -7. End up where we left off. So our cosine graph, one period of our cosine graph looks like that.